My wife and I, to be honest, were absolutely terrified. Our son, Logan, 22 years old, living in downtown New York City, as we were hearing news of all of the casualties around the pandemic. We were so thankful when he finally made it home, back to Bowling Green, Ohio. What's been interesting now, though, is we're all living together. We're living, 10 of us in a home with 2 dogs as well, and we're thinking through, what does it mean to be a family? As I was thinking about my relationship with Logan, I was reminded of a podcast that he and I filmed several weeks ago entitled Make Your Bed. It was actually my first podcast with a family member with my son. It was a comical, hilarious conversation as we talked about 3 words, but 3 words that when lived out really highlights the importance of simple choices. Isn't that true for today as we all find ourselves in this unpredictable, unprecedented time called the global pandemic, coronavirus? Think about it. Every choice counts. Every moment matters. So something as simple as making your bed, it simply reminds us that all of our choices during these 24 hours each day really, truly matter. And now is not the time to hit pause on becoming the best version of ourselves. It's a time to commit to deeper growth, transformation, and real progress in our lives. So listen to my son and I as we have a conversation about making your bed.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to 3 Words, a bite-sized podcast about the simple and yet very strategic choices that you can make in your life to become the best version of yourself. I am your host, Dr. Michael Brown, and as a business consultant and life coach, I have seen over and over and over again the effects upon my friends and family and children and colleagues and clients, how every choice counts and how every moment matters and how more can happen in 1 minute than can happen in an entire month if we choose to execute positive and powerful choices every single day. I am so honored today to have one of my life coaches and dearest friends. And even son.
We can go there, yeah.
This is my son, Logan Brown, who is actually one of my coaches in our D&B coaching community, but also my 21-year-old son. So I have not, to this point, ever had a podcast shared with a relative. So Logan, welcome today. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. What are our 3 words for today?
Okay, the 3 words are make your bed.
Which is ironic because I'm not sure you've spent most of your life actually living out these 3-word choices.
It's ironic, but I mean, I have my reasoning. So I remember as a kid, you guys would always tell me make your bed. And I was like, this is so stupid. Why would I ever make my bed?
Now, we would ask you to make your bed. For the record, we never demanded.
For the record,
our children.
Let's just get the record straight real quick. Go ahead.
The record is that we have never, ever demanded that our children make their bed. But we suggested it because of the power of daily habits and routines upon who a person becomes.
Yeah. And as a kid, I didn't really get that because I was like, why would I make my bed? Because I'm just going to sleep in it tomorrow. We'll get all messed up. And I even told you guys, I'm like, listen, I don't want to make my bed because I like my sheets kind of loose in the morning. And if I make it, I'm so tight, I can't breathe, and I'm suffocating in my bed. So I told you guys that, and you let it go, for the record.
Yeah.
But, but then I think later on in life, I realized that you weren't telling me to make my bed because you wanted my bed made. You were telling me to make my bed because it's good to have an organized life, an organized brain, and making little choices today can really help you have a more productive day in the long run.
Let's be honest. About 2 days ago, Logan sent me a Snapchat.
I did, because we
do
him.
We do Snapchat back
That's
and forth.
That's all we do.
And he sent me a Snapchat of him actually a little bit making his bed.
It was a full make.
It was not a full make. It was
like
a ball in the middle of the bed.
100%.
And you were like, I just made my bed. I'm ready for our podcast, Dad.
I'm ready.
So here's my question. Be honest?
Yes.
On the record.
On it.
Do you make your bed every day?
Since I found out I was making this podcast, yes.
Do you make your bed before this podcast? Have you been making your bed on a regular basis?
No.
Okay.
But I do other things on a regular basis that I think is basically like make your bed. So I think make your bed is, it doesn't matter about making bed. It's a
metaphor.
It's a metaphor. What does that mean?
It's a metaphor for daily decisions daily routines that transform our life.
Yeah, so I have like a morning routine. I like waking up early. This year I have my own room, so I started trying to do like yoga. It's really like weird, and I just kind of like stretch and roll around on the floor until I feel awkward, and then I like leave and go work out or something. But having those like little like things, like I'll stretch, and then I'll go work out, and then I'll make breakfast, and then I'll do coffee, and then after that I'll kind of get started on my work. I'll start like reaching out, like I don't know, stuff like that. But it kind of sets me up for a really good morning.
So when you miss those routines, when you miss those basic, simple rhythms, how does it affect your day?
Well, it feels weird. It feels kind of off, and it feels like my brain now needs to figure out like where I am in my day, what I'm going to do differently. But the nice thing about like a routine for me is like when I have a routine, I don't need to spend my like mental energy like thinking all about what I'm going to do next and like what time I wake up or when am I going to get a shower today. Like I don't need to worry about that. Like I have my routine, and then I can just focus on like what my goals are for the day. And
I love it.
like
Well, and in many ways, what we're talking about, Logan, is those daily decisions, similar to make your bed, that are actually going to help organize your life and help your life feel a sense of order. They actually have really profound effects upon our brain chemistry. I mean, research shows us that when your room is cluttered, oftentimes your mind is cluttered. When your desk is in disarray,
your life is in disarray.
Oh,
yep.
You have been raised in the home of a life coach. So
yes.
I appreciate you saying that. But it's true. There's something very powerful about those simple choices. Let me give you an example that seems a little bit unrelated. But when I was mentoring a young man, it's probably been 15 years now, and I knew that we needed to have a hard conversation. And he wanted to have this conversation, and I wanted to have this conversation, but the conversation was about the fact that he was unhealthy, that he was extremely overweight. And finally we reached that point in our mentoring relationship where he said to me, "Can you help me? Would you be willing to help me lose this weight?" I said, "Absolutely." He was over 300 pounds. He wanted to get down to about 155 pounds. And he wanted to do it in a healthy way. And I was like, I absolutely could help you, and it would be my honor to help you as my friend to go from 300 plus down to 155. But I need you to trust me. I need you to trust me to do exactly as I tell you to do. And he was like, "Oh, okay." And I said, "Beginning now, I want you to go home to your dorm room, and I want you to make your bed."
I would be so annoyed if someone told me that.
Well, yeah, you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah,
and he's like, "What?" I said, "You need to go home right now, and you need to make your bed, and you need to make your bed for an entire week. And then come back to me, and I'll give you instruction number 2. And he looked at me with a little bit of disgust, and he said, "Well, how do you know my bed's not made?"
Like,
and I said, "It's obvious." And the reason is I knew if he could not control these larger, bigger things in his life, it's likely tied back to the fact that all of his life and little things in his life are also out of control. He did what I asked, made his bed every day, came back a week later. He said, "I'm ready to start losing the weight. What's the next step?" I said, "Go back home and clean your room. And I want you to clean your room." So there's another 3 words. Make your bed, clean your room. I want you to go back home and I want you to clean your room and keep your room clean for an entire week. And he was like, "Ugh." He was almost exasperated, but he's like, "I trust you. I'll do this." He went back. Long story short, week 3, we began to actually tackle some of the fitness issues, some of the diet issues, seeing food as fuel, and not just food that tastes good, but food that makes them feel good. And we could talk about that in another podcast concerning food choices. And yet, in 18 months, he went from over 300 pounds to down to 155 in a healthy way. And I am convinced, in many ways, it all began with going home on that first day and making his bed. Because here's the problem, Logan. We tend to believe the lie that seemingly insignificant choices, or even just coasting itself through life, is not negative. Because it's only one day.
Yeah.
It's
And
only
it's
1
so
hour.
easy, especially on like your busy days where you're like rushing class or I don't know, you're just like feeling sick or you're super sore, like to be like, why am I gonna like I'm not gonna make my bed. It's fine. It's one day. Like it doesn't matter. But then like your rest of your day is kind of messed
and
up.
not only, and so when you hear that go on in your ears, this idea that it's only one day, or it's only one choice, or it's only one shortcut. Shortcuts. In fact, we have a little saying in our family, and one of them is no shortcuts.
No shortcuts.
And so typically when I'm like, okay, it's the end of the day, everyone start cleaning up, let's get ready for bed, there's always 1 or 2 children that are going to take a shortcut, where they stuff a sock under the couch, or they're going to kind of fold their blanket before.
Yeah.
And what happens is that we have to come back, and here's a metaphor again, we have to come back and we have to do it all over again, or we have to add more time. Had we just done it right, in a very proactive, intentional way at the beginning, We could have done it in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But because we took a shortcut, because we devalued what seemed to be a very small choice, it actually is beginning to ripple into the future. So if you ever hear yourself say, it's just one day, that one day, how often does it become 2 days, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months?
Yeah. And then you're starting a bad habit, like a routine, but not a good one.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because every 21 days, if you make choices for 21 days in the same direction, it becomes a habit. And oftentimes we don't choose to make those choices unless we've talked about this in another podcast, but unless there's crisis or we really, really despise the status quo and the mediocrity in which we're living. But I just want to be able to say to all of our listeners, and that's the whole thrust in the heart of this podcast, and why I've even launched this podcast, is that 3 simple words, the simplest of choices. Life is not as complicated and complex as we think it is. Mm-hmm. It's quite simple if we just live out seemingly powerful, positive choices.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts you have, or any more teasing you want to do to your father here on the podcast? Because you may not get another opportunity.
I have some notes on my phone, but I don't have it with me. No, I think we kind of hit everything. I think, it's not just making your bed. It's like just creating a rhythm in your brain so you can then like actually focus all your energy on the goals that you're wanting to achieve each day.
And I also think, and I love that, Logan, that was well said.
I love that too. That's why I said it, yeah.
But also I think that we were created for order.
Yeah.
And disorder tends to disrupt us becoming the best version of ourselves. Disorder creates disruption. And which I think is interesting because, again, let's just be honest. You have always joked over the years that you're kind of a black sheep in the family.
Orange sheep, whatever you want.
Because
not part of the family.
Well,
you joke that I'm adopted all the time.
No,
that probably doesn't help
no.
that.
Yeah. But I think one of the reasons is that Mom and I tend to be incredibly organized. Mm-hmm. And what's so fun to watch, and I just wanted to share this with you, what's really fascinating about your life is that your tendency is not to be organized, but you are incredibly focused and very driven and really passionate about achieving your goals and making choices to do so. And while something as simple as this doesn't really hit your priority list, you have found, as I think we all do, regardless of personality, because order is not about personality. Small, powerful choices is not like only reserved for certain personality types.
Yeah.
It literally can help everyone across the personality spectrum, across the variety of strengths and weaknesses that we have, and who God has made us to be. So I love and I'm very proud of you for obviously achieving your dreams. And you may not have done it in the exact same way that Mom and I did, but you have actually, in a variety of areas of your life, you have chosen rhythms and simple choices on a daily basis over and over again that have brought you to be who you are today, even with better hair than your father.
Yes, much better hair. Yeah, that's so. Do you want to end this with like a hug? Or
No.
something?
We can kind of give a side hug.
There we
Okay.
go. Oh,
But I do want to end with a
nice.
promise, because
Okay.
I like to always end the podcast with a promise. And the promise is this: that every positive choice in the smallest and silliest of contexts are always a springboard for the most significant choices in your life. So, that said, don't forget, make your bed.